Welcome to Our Universe, Our Eternal Home, a show exploring the awe-inspiring adventure of reincarnation from a humanistic perspective. Do you ever wonder what happens to people who have died prematurely while they were still children? Where do their souls go, and how do they exist after death? Did each of their souls somehow receive the opportunity to live on planet Earth again within the body of a person who at least grew up to reach adulthood or even beyond middle age? I believe that the ego, which is the conscious thinking self, is integrated within the soul, as are the emotions, will, imagination, and the creative source of our thinking. Our souls compose the essence of who we are. Everyone's soul determines the unique identity of their spiritual being, as each soul forms the true spiritual self of a person. The soul constitutes the intangible or non-physical part of a person's being. In contrast, the human body, including the brain and neural sensory network, forms the tangible or physical part of a person's being, which hosts the soul for a lifetime. By definition, the human soul survives physical death and is capable of existing separate from the body. Also, the soul is regarded as being immortal. There is no significant difference between the dictionary definitions for the soul and for the spirit. Our species, Homo sapiens, has a highly developed brain, which is large in proportion to our body. Our brain provides the intellectual capacity to solve complex problems using abstract reasoning. Ultimately, however, we are not rational beings, for in fact, we are spiritual beings. The following examples of human behavior illustrate evidence supporting the claim that we are spiritual beings who use our reason to serve profound desires that lie beyond the boundaries of logic and rationality, to express diverse ideas about beauty and love. We build skyscrapers and vast edifices of grandiosely ornate architecture, such as train stations, performance halls, public libraries, museums, and hotels. We write and perform theatrical plays, compose and recite poetry, create paintings and sculpture. We compose and perform music and dance. We play make-believe by role-playing and dressing up in costumes, just for fun. The character named Prospero from The Tempest, a play by William Shakespeare, declares, "We are such stuff as dreams are made on." I interpret the word stuff to mean the intangible spiritual essence composing the human soul, which burns brightly with unlimited creative potential. We all know what beauty is, but each of our own subjective perceptions of beauty can never be explained using science, because the intangible phenomenon of beauty does not originate from the physical realm of nature. Thus, beauty can neither be observed using our physical senses, nor analyzed by a rational procedure. I believe that beauty originates from the spiritual realm of nature. We perceive beauty through transcendental experiences of nature and culture, which engage our imagination and stir up profound emotions of love within our souls. Because I claim that beauty is an element of love. Can we agree that something so powerful as the human soul is inviolate, meaning that it is safe from degradation, injury, or death, and thus exists forever? Truly, then, it is reasonable to conclude that every person's soul must somehow transcend death to inhabit an infinite succession of tangible human bodies within the natural universe, because this is the only mode by which the human soul can achieve its full potential for self-expression.
Indeed, a physical human body, complete with a brain and neural sensory network, is required for the human soul to be able to express the uniquely beautiful, infinitely diverse, and profound dimensions of human nature to its full potential through imaginative acts of creativity and cultivating relationships based on mutual love. Such endeavors of the soul require a brain for planning, making decisions, abstract reasoning, developing and expressing thoughts, ideas, and opinions, as well as for executing creative projects. Emotional states are communicated through speech and body language, including facial expressions. Emotional perception is actually facilitated by many brain structures, including the amygdala, hippocampus, and parts of the thalamus, all three of which compose a part of the limbic system, which borders the brain stem. The function of the amygdala is to store emotional memories, which are emotional experiences stored as memories that can be recalled by similar circumstances. The cerebrum is the largest human brain structure, which is critical for our awareness of our surroundings, and is where our consciousness, faculties of language, cognition, and memory are based. Cognition is the process of knowing, which includes awareness, reasoning, recollection, and judgment. Cognitive functions are mostly based in the cerebral cortex, which is the outer layer of the cerebrum. Both short-term and long-term memories are stored in the cerebral cortex of the brain. Short-term memories are accessed through temporary links formed in the hippocampus. Eventually, when these memories are transformed into long-term memories, the links in the hippocampus are replaced by more permanent connections within the cerebral cortex. Both the generation of speech and the control of facial muscles are based in a small region of the left frontal lobe of the cerebral cortex, called Broca's area. On the other hand, the ability to comprehend speech is based in the posterior portion of the left temporal lobe of the cerebral cortex, called Wernicke's area. Both Broca's and Wernicke's areas belong to a network of brain regions involved in interpreting language and generating speech. Our faculty of decision-making and planning is based in the prefrontal cortex, which is a part of the frontal lobe of the cerebral cortex of the brain. We depend upon the cerebrum to coordinate the reasoning work of the intellect to decide upon what it is that we value in life. Also, the cerebrum enables us to classify each piece of cultural information we encounter into either the domain of mythology or the domain of literal scientific fact, which is an important part of the human quest to construct meaning and to determine the purpose for our existence.
My humanistic, non-religious explanation of how reincarnation works is the following. At the point of death, the soul of the deceased person transmigrates to inhabit a fertilized egg, also called a zygote, within the fallopian tube of a randomly selected human mother somewhere on planet Earth. I believe that this event happens during the 24-hour time interval between fertilization of the egg cell and the start of cleavage. Cleavage is a rapid succession of cell divisions that produces a spherical mass of cells from the zygote, which composes the first multicellular stage of the human embryo. Typically, after moving through the fallopian tube, the human embryo arrives at the uterus as a 16-cell sphere 3 to 4 days after fertilization. In fact, I claim that the soul itself directs and organizes the complex patterns of cell migration and division that generate a new human body within the uterus over 38 weeks. Transmigration of the soul is defined as the passing of the soul from one body to another. I estimate that the velocity of soul transmigration is either greater than or equal to the speed of light. Currently, the daily world population growth rate exceeds 185,000 people. This means that over 185,000 new souls are being created every day by the mysterious spiritual domain of nature, the source of intangible, abstract things like love. Nature's spiritual domain is indescribable and unobservable because it is beyond the scope of our senses. However, we experience the reality of the spiritual domain of nature through not only feeling abstract things like love and virtues such as courage, kindness, patience, and compassion, but by also feeling the spectrum of our emotions. It is this spiritual domain of nature that perpetually organizes, drives, and directs the synthesis and ensuing structural order of biochemical molecules such as fats, carbohydrates, and proteins to build the cells, tissues, and bodies of all life forms, from bacteria to whales, according to the organic structural design blueprint encoded in the DNA of every organism. It is most delightful to know that through reincarnation, the souls of all the people who have ever died since human beings first emerged from Africa about 300,000 years ago are still alive and expressing themselves through the bodies of human beings on planet Earth today. And they will continue to do so forever. Reincarnation is a vitally important natural phenomenon which provides a way for all the souls of people who have tragically died during childhood to continue to live on planet Earth within a new human body and receive the opportunity to experience the stage of adulthood with each consecutive lifetime. This is wonderful news if we consider the stark and horrifying reality of the many children dying around the world each year, mostly in developing countries within sub-Saharan Africa and Northern Asia, where infant mortality rates are high. Infant mortality rate is defined as the number of infants per 1,000 who die before reaching 1 year of age. For example, the infant mortality rates of Canada, the United States of America, and of the European countries are all less than 10 infant deaths per 1,000. In stark contrast, the infant mortality rates within sub-Saharan Africa range from 30 to 90 infant deaths per 1,000. Overall, vast numbers of children have died throughout human history, as illuminated by the following grim examples.
First, the RMS Empress of Ireland sank in the St. Lawrence River in Canada after colliding with the Norwegian steam cargo ship SS Storstad in dense fog on May 29th of 1914, where 1,012 people died out of the 1,477 on board, including 70 girls and 64 boys, who died from drowning and exposure to the frigid waters. Second, the SS Valencia, an iron-hulled passenger steamer, was wrecked and sank off the southwest coast of Vancouver Island at Cape Beale in British Columbia, Canada, on January 22, 1906. Passengers traveling aboard included 104 adults, 17 of whom were women, and a few children. After striking first one rock, then another, the ship eventually sank, causing the deaths of all the women and children. Furthermore, the lives of the captain and 39 crew officers were lost. In the end, only 12 of the 87 male passengers and 25 of the 65 crew members survived. The victims died from drowning, hypothermia, and from being beaten against the rocks. Currently, over 1 billion people in the world do not have enough food to eat and are either chronically hungry or suffer hunger for short periods. About 90% of these people live in developing countries, over half of which are within Asia and the Pacific Rim. Undernourishment is a condition in which hunger physically afflicts a person. Frequently, undernourishment weakens the immune system, endangers pregnancies, and inhibits the production of breast milk. Further, undernourishment retards growth during childhood, impedes learning, and diminishes mental functions. Chronic undernourishment results in starvation, a life-threatening condition in which bodily organs cease to function. Tragically, hunger-related diseases caused 60% of the 11 million deaths of children under 5 years old during the year of 2007. Going further back in time, 15th century Europe was where half of all children died before reaching the age of 5 years old.
Faith in reincarnation can inspire hope in us for all the people who have lost their lives prematurely while they were still children. We may draw joy and consolation from knowing that the souls of all those deceased child victims are still with us, and that every one of them has received another opportunity to live a full and complete life, reaching well into adulthood, with ample time to create a family and express the full potential and beauty of their humanity. But let us now move our focus beyond children to investigate the rates at which people of all ages have died and continue to die from diseases, natural disasters, and wars.
Despite continuing efforts to eradicate polio and guinea worm disease, infectious and parasitic diseases cause an enormous death toll on human populations within developing countries. The most devastating communicable diseases in the world are respiratory infections, such as pneumonia, which kill more than 4 million people each year and account for 7% of all annual deaths. The second leading group of lethal communicable diseases are diarrheal diseases such as cholera, which account for 3.7% of all deaths. New strains of cholera regularly appear and are spread through contaminated water and poor sanitation. Cholera epidemics occur periodically in developing countries. The third deadliest infectious disease is the human immunodeficiency virus known as HIV, which causes acquired immune deficiency syndrome, known as AIDS. In the year of 2007, AIDS caused about 2 million deaths and accounted for 3.5% of all human deaths. Tuberculosis is the fourth leading communicable disease of human death around the world, accounting for 2.5% of the total annual death toll. Finally, malaria, which is transmitted by mosquitoes, is the cause of about 2% of all annual human deaths around the world. In the United States, during the year of 2011, heart disease, cancer, and stroke were the leading causes of death. Natural disasters and wars cause the death of tens of thousands of people around the world every year. It is estimated that World War II directly caused the fatalities of 50 to 55 million civilians and 21 to 25 million military personnel. Also, an additional 19 to 28 million people died from war-related diseases and famine. In addition, British historian Martin Gilbert estimates that 5.7 million Jews in German-occupied Europe died from the Holocaust. World War I caused the fatalities of 9 to 11 million military personnel and 6 to 13 million civilians. Furthermore, at least 2 million people died from diseases, and 6 million people went missing, presumed dead, as a result of World War I. The extreme extent of the vast destructive onslaught of smallpox, which devastated the North American Aboriginal peoples starting in the early 1600s, is summed up with the chilling statistic that their original population of 20 million was reduced to less than 1 million. Shockingly, even whole tribes became extinct. Going further back in history, for thousands of years, throughout Asia, Europe, and Africa, smallpox afflicted emperors, kings, and poor folk too, causing people to become very ill, with the result that they often died. Smallpox also afflicted people during the American Revolution between 1775 and 1783, causing a death toll of more than 150,000 colonists in both Canada and the United States. Overall, an overwhelming 300 million people worldwide have died from smallpox. Turning now towards the European colonization of the Americas, Christopher Columbus landed at the island named Hispaniola in the Caribbean in 1492, where he founded the first European colony in the Americas, named La Navidad. At the time of Columbus's arrival, there were probably hundreds of thousands of Taino Aboriginal people living on this island. However, tragically, only a few hundred Taino remained by the 1520s. Imperial Spain gained sovereign control of Mexico after the conquest of the Aztec Empire in 1521 by the conquistadors, led by Hernán Cortés, after a 2-year battle, which is considered to be the longest and bloodiest single battle in history, in which 200,000 people were killed. The combined effects of this devastating military scourge, along with the later spread of European lethal diseases dominated by smallpox, caused the Aztec population to massively diminish from nearly 25 million inhabitants to about 2.5 million during a 50-year period in the 16th century.
Living on our beautiful yet dangerous planet Earth, where so many people have died and continue to die prematurely from wars, diseases, drug overdoses, and natural disasters, we can hold on to the good news of reincarnation. Every person's soul will inhabit an infinite succession of human bodies, so that eventually everyone will receive an opportunity to live a long and productive life with ample time to nurture a family, fulfill creative projects, and to engage in the grand adventure of humanity well into old age. Faith in reincarnation can lead to feelings of hope and joy from the promise of perpetually being able to experience the fascination, wonder, and ecstasy evoked by the natural and cultural beauty of planet Earth. Beyond our planet Earth, we can be amazed by the cosmic wonders and interstellar space throughout our fascinating and mysterious universe, our eternal home, over the course of a long life. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. My name is Adam. Please subscribe to my channel if you like it.